Hi everyone and welcome back. I hope you can hear me well, and I brought Finn today. So in my last episodes, I talked a lot about the mind, about the voice in your head, about the thoughts, about the awareness, about choosing whether you believe your thoughts or not, and about choosing something is possible for you even though before you have proof. And today I want to get more into what that actually means in practice, because of course knowing something and doing something are two different things. So the concept is really simple but powerful. Maybe you have heard of this before. The concept is that you don't wait to act before you become someone. You basically act as this person, even though you're not that person, if that makes sense. So you don't wait to become someone to start acting like them. You act like them first, and that's how you actually become them. So most people are waiting for permission in their lives, waiting until they feel ready, until they have proof, until someone tells them they're allowed to do a certain thing or they should do a certain thing. But the version of you who has the life you want, this version doesn't wait for permission. This version just starts to move. So the basic concept is that the identity comes before the evidence, not the other way around. So let's say when I decided to go to Bali, I didn't have it figured out. I didn't know how I was able to make a living. I didn't know where I would stay. I didn't have an apartment before I left. I figured it out in the way. That means I booked an Airbnb, for example, for a couple of weeks and figured it out from there. The secret is I didn't have it figured out, but I started to move like someone who had it. I started to research flight. I started to book a flight. I booked an Airbnb. I Googled the travel insurance. I set up all these small things. I told people I would move to Bali. I remember the first time I said that, it felt so weird. I was like, yeah, I will move to Bali. And I was like, oh, I really said this? Oh yeah, I'm really going to do that. So the first time you're actually voicing your dreams, it might feel a bit weird because it's so out of your comfort zone, but you need to start doing this because you're becoming this person who does it. And you know what? I'm at the same point again. I'm recording a podcast, even though I probably have 5 subscribers, but you need to start somewhere. So you become the person who has a podcast. Or I'm writing on Substack before anyone is actually reading it. So that's the practice of becoming the version you want to be. You just have to start and act like it. I didn't wait until I had the audience to start a podcast. I started the podcast to become someone with an audience. So here comes the practical part I want to share with you. So basically 3 things you can actually apply in your life. The first one is ask the question. When you're faced with a decision, might be big or small, ask yourself the question, what would the version of me who already has this do? Not like in a fake way, but in a genuine way. And then actually go and do that. The second one is change one small thing. This doesn't mean you have to overhaul your life. Pick one thing the next version of you would that you're not doing yet. Maybe that's simply waking up earlier. Maybe it's sending the scary email. Maybe it's booking that flight. So just one thing, either big or small. And the third thing is stop waiting to feel ready. The secret nobody talks about is that ready is a feeling that comes after you actually start. So every time you've done something that scared you, did you actually feel ready? Really not. You felt ready once you were already doing it. And you might face resistance. You might be asking like, isn't that fake? Isn't this pretending I am someone who I'm not? And there's also this sentence, fake it till you make it. But I want you to let you know that this is not about pretending. It's not about faking confidence you don't have or about lying to yourself about who you are. It's about choosing to orient yourself toward who you are becoming rather than who you are. There's actually a difference between performing and practicing. So let's come back to a personal example. Something in my life where I'm moving like the version I want to become before I am. Something that still feels a little bit scary and uncertain in a way. And you know, right now, it's super scary and weird to actually record this podcast because, like I said, I probably have 5 subscribers who are listening to it, but I still keep going. This is the episode 5. And I still do it. And it feels scary and it feels weird and it feels uncertain. But there's no other way becoming this version without going through this. So in the end, you don't find yourself by waiting around. You will never move to another country if you never book that flight. If you always keep postponing it because you're waiting for permission, you wait for something else to be ready, you will never end up doing it. You need to take the first step. You need to act like the person who already has it. So my question for you this weekend, what's one thing the next version of you would do that you keep putting off? Go and do that. Next week, I want to talk about something that took me a while to like fully trust. The idea that if something is right, it's flowing, and what it means when things aren't flowing. So see you next one.